All right, so I didn't realize that it didn't actually go live there. So what we're gonna do is using tube bands, working the muscles in the arms and shoulder. So we're gonna be working the tricep, the bicep, and the deltoid using tube bands. We're gonna start with an exercise for the tricep. So you're going to step 1 foot on one end of the band, and then you're going to hold onto the fabric part of the handle, because that way the handle's not gonna slide around on you. I like holding the fabric part of the handle for this overhead tricep extension. From here, you're going to bring your hand right behind your head with your elbow high. Now that really gets this muscle lengthened, which is gonna be good for muscle building because we're putting high tension in that tricep, bringing that elbow up high. From here, you're gonna straighten out towards the ceiling, pulling up against that band. You should feel that working right here in that tricep. Now, if you're looking for exercise or looking for workouts like this, where we're working arms and shoulders with bands, hit that like button for me and let me know you want more content like this. And I'm going until I feel tired in that arm. I'm aiming for what's called 2 RIR, or 2 reps in reserve, where I'm going to where the muscle feels tired, but I could maybe do 1 or 2 more reps. And relax. I should feel that burning right back here in the arm. So the next exercise we're gonna do is for the bicep. What I'm gonna do is wrap the band around a post so that it's anchored low and pulling sideways. Because what that does is when I'm gonna step forward till the band is pulling me back at this bottom position. So I should feel that tension in that bicep pulling me back in this position. From here, I'm gonna curl up and then back down. Now I should feel that tension most down here to where I'm really stretching out that bicep at the bottom of the movement. So I'm bringing my arms to where they're almost completely straight. Now, if I want to, I could even step further back or further forward. So my hands are a little bit further back, and that's better for that bicep to really stretch that across the shoulder and the elbow. I'm trying to keep my chest up and my arms back. I'm going until I feel tired in that bicep. This is what's called a bi-articulating muscle. So the bicep goes across the front of the shoulder and the elbow. That's why I'm really trying to let it stretch across both joints. You should feel that burning in the bicep on this. I like the bands because you get to choose how the muscle is being pulled on. It's not gravity where it's always going straight up and down where you have to adjust your body angle. The bands let you do that, but it takes a little bit of creativity sometimes of knowing how to anchor them. So, but they are a lot less expensive than using dumbbells. Full set of bands usually costs about the same as 1 dumbbell or 1 set of dumbbells. So if you're looking to get a set of bands like these, I have affiliate links down below that help support the channel. So thank you very much. If it doesn't cost you any extra, but it does help support the channel a little bit if you buy through those links. So now we're going to do a lateral raise. This works that deltoid muscle right here on the top of the shoulder and that side of the shoulder. So for this, I'm going to step right in the middle of the band and then cross my hands. So I'm switching the handles to the opposite side. So that way it's pulling in at a diagonal, and that gives you a better force curve for this exercise. So from here, I'm gonna keep my thumbs pointed straight towards the front, lifting up to the sides like I'm making a snow angel, and down. I'm gonna keep my thumbs pointed straight forward through this entire movement, because if I was to shift my thumbs, I'm actually moving resistance away from that middle deltoid. So that's why we want to make sure our thumb position keeps it directly in the middle of that deltoid to build out those shoulders. Now in this, I'm trying to keep my shoulders away from my ears. I'm not trying to lift them with my neck, I'm keeping them down and back, lifting from my arms. So think about trying to make an arc upwards with your arms. I'm going until I feel that fatigue building in my deltoid. With any muscle building workout, you want to go until you feel that fatigue building up in the muscle. You want to feel tired. You want to feel that burning feeling, that tension feeling in the muscle as you're pulling against that resistance. Now with strength training, it's a little different. You care much more about neurologically activating as much muscle as you can. With hypertrophy training, it's about specifically tensioning and making the muscle fatigue. And that's what builds muscle. So now we're going back for a second set of tricep extensions. So stepping one foot onto one end of the band and one hand behind your head. Now, with bands, you want to be careful to not overstretch them. You don't want them to go more than double their length. That's why we only do one side at a time with this. Because if I was to do both at the same time, I would probably snap the band because it would be more than double its length. So it's better to do one hand at a time, because trust me, I've snapped a band while I was working out before, doing something like this where I was pushing up overhead, and it's not fun to have that band snap on you. And I'm going until I feel tired in that tricep. And 15. I'm trying to go all the way down to where my hand is at the back of my neck, where my elbow is fully bent. That's gonna create a lot more tension in that tricep where I'm working that full length of muscle. If I was to only go partway down and then come back up, do these sort of like half reps, that would be less effective at building muscle, and it also increases my risk of injury because I'm only working the muscle through part of it. I'm not working that full muscle. So imagine like a rope. Where one part of the rope has a little bit of fraying in it. If I never strengthen that part of the rope, the whole thing can snap. Same thing with muscle. If I never strengthen the full length of that muscle, then eventually that part can give out. And you can have strains and possibly even tearing. And so it's important to work that full range of motion to build that whole muscle. And relax. Now, we're doing what are called supersets, or a circuit, where we're going from one muscle to the next, and then doing a looping back around to the beginning after we finished all of the exercises. So we do 3 exercises, then start back over. And we do go through that as many times as we can. So I'm trying for about 4 sets, 4 times through those 3 exercises. to build muscle, because each set adds a little bit more muscle building each time. And it's like compound interest. The more sets you do, the more interest you're accruing or more muscle you're building. If you think about muscle like investing, so each set is adding more to that investment. So now we're doing a bicep curl. I'm stepping forward and pushing my chest out so I'm straight. So my arms are pulling back. I should feel that tension in my bicep, pulling up to the front. I like this variation better than a standard curl because I am getting a stretch at the top of my bicep all the way down to my elbow with this. It's because I'm pulling the shoulder into what's called extension, where it's going out behind me. That's extension of the shoulder. So it's actually stretching that bicep up at the top of the movement, as well as at the elbow as well. So I'm getting the bicep two places rather than just one. So I'm getting that full length of the bicep. A lot of people don't know the bicep actually does help lift the shoulder as well. I didn't know that until I went to school, actually. I studied exercise science, and it's pretty amazing, actually, the things you find out about how muscles attach and work at each joint. And last one, I'm going until I feel that fatigue build up in the bicep. I used to do lateral raises a little differently, and I found that the crossing the handles makes a big difference on this exercise, where you're getting that diagonal position. So instead of it pulling straight down, I'm pulling inwards, so I feel like I get a resistance through the entire movement. Even down here, I can already feel that band pulling in against the movement, and I get a much more even force curve all the way through. Because with dumbbells, down here at the bottom, it completely goes away, where I have no resistance against that deltoid. And this way, I get a resisted movement through the entire range of motion. Now I'm just going until I feel tired in that muscle. So if you're like me and looking to build muscle in your arms and shoulders, then hit that like button to let me know you want more workouts like this, where we do a follow along workout, building muscle together. I used to do one set per exercise, and I found that actually slowed down how much muscle I was building, because each workout I was only hitting a muscle once. Hang on a moment. I gotta change that foot. So I'm gonna try and do same hand, same foot on this exercise, putting my hand right behind my head. So that way it's pulling straight down. There we go, that feels a lot better on my shoulder. Now I like these better than a skull crusher personally. I find that I get all the advantages of a skull crusher where my elbow is high, I'm putting tension on that tricep. But for me, I feel that this is a more comfortable position on my elbow, and I can really feel that tricep working in the back of my arm, where I can focus in on that. So any exercise for the tricep that gets your elbow up higher though is going to emphasize that large part of that tricep, that muscle in the back of the arm. Relax. So the tricep actually has 3 parts to it. You've got medial head, lateral head, long head. So the medial and lateral heads are on the sides right here, and they don't go quite as high up into the shoulder. That long head, the large piece of tricep though, goes all the way up into that shoulder. And so lifting that elbow higher than the shoulder puts that long head under stretch, which is also going to cause tension and increase that muscle activation and muscle building of that long head of the tricep. So they're actually they're named after the amount of muscle heads they have. So the bicep has 2 heads, the long head and the short head. Tricep has 3 heads, heads being pieces of the muscle. So going same thing the other side. A lot of muscles are named after their shape or something about how they're put together. So you've got the quads, because they're actually 4 pieces of the quad muscle. It's actually 4 muscles rolled into one. The tricep has 3 heads, the bicep has 2 heads. You actually have biceps in your legs as well. They're called biceps femoris. A lot of people don't realize that part of their hamstring is actually a bicep. Same sort of muscle. Now, however many I did on my right side, I'm gonna try and match on my left side. And relax. And going into our bicep curl. So I'm gonna wrap this low on a post. Now, if you don't have something you can wrap this around, you can also use a door anchor. So the band goes through this loop, like this. And then this part, this fat knob part, gets shut in a door so that it holds tight so you can pull on it and it doesn't go anywhere. So you want to close it in a door down low, and then you're going to step away from the band until you feel that band pulling you back down here. So standing up straight and tall, letting the band pull you back and away, curling up to the front and back down. You should feel that all the way up into the front of your shoulder in that bicep. I like this better than other variations of the resistance band curl, because I find that I get better tension down here at the bottom. Sometimes with bands, if you're standing in the middle of the band and doing a curl, you can lose all tension at the bottom of that movement where you're most straight, where your arms are straightened out to the back. And that's the place you want the most tension. So I found this going sideways with the band is more effective at giving me a great bicep curl. Because you want that high tension for muscle growth. So I'm pulling straight up to the front of my shoulders and then back down. I'm just going until I feel tired. I'm not really worrying too much about the reps, as long as I'm the same on both sides and I feel tired at the end of the movement. That's the whole thing. You want to feel that burning in that muscle, that pulling apart in that muscle. Those 2 things help signal your body to grow that muscle. So imagine it like someone talking. The louder they're talking, the more impact they have. So imagine like you're talking to that muscle. You can whisper really quiet down here like this, but if you talk up here like this, get a bigger signal where it's more fatigue, more tiring, that causes more change or more muscle growth. So that's why we're working to fatigue and also doing multiple sets, because the more often we do that, it's almost like we're reminding the muscle to keep on growing. So we're doing multiple sets and repeating the same muscle multiple times in a week to keep that growth going. Because when you work a muscle, after you finish working out, your body starts rebuilding that muscle stronger. But eventually it stops. It decides, you know what, this is a lot of effort. I'm gonna stop doing that. And then we have to remind the body to keep on building that muscle, to keep growing it. So we have to work out again to start that process over, to keep on activating enzymes in the muscle to continue that growth. There's actually an enzyme that helps the muscle become more insulin sensitive, where it pulls nutrients into that muscle. Because insulin helps pull blood sugar into different tissues. Now, it pulls it into the muscle, it pulls it into the fat, it does that everywhere. But for us, the more you use a muscle, the more the insulin favors that muscle, where the muscle gets more insulin sensitive, pulls more of the sugar into the muscle, into what's called muscle glycogen. It pulls more nutrients in, it gets more sugars stored in the muscle, not in the fat. So we're burning those sugars as well as storing those sugars more often, or we're storing more sugar the more we work that muscle and build that muscle size. So if you want to lose weight here, a great way of doing that is by doing resistance training to use more of the calories you're burning in your muscle and less that gets stored in the fat in the liver. Now it's important to keep calories constant as well. I know for me, I try and log everything that I eat to make sure I'm giving my body enough calories to work out, but also not so many calories where I'm building up a lot of fat either. I'm trying to keep that in balance. So for me, that's about 15 times my body weight. So if I take my body weight, which is about 210 or 218 pounds, and then multiply it times 15, that's how many calories I'm eating in a day. And that's to maintain my weight. And that's as far as I go on that one. Same thing on the other side, doing a tricep overhead extension, stepping right in the middle or straight on the end of the band. Bring my hand behind my head, straightening out towards the ceiling. Now, if you're liking this workout and want to see more, hit that like button for me to let me know you want more content like this, where we're using 2 bands to build muscle. Trying to go all the way bent, where I'm bending my hand all the way down behind my neck and then back out straight. Trying to match the reps on both sides. This is working that tricep muscle, especially that long head of the tricep, which is the largest piece of the tricep. Now, you might get to a point where you feel like you can't lift the weight again or pull against the resistance band anymore, where there's nothing left to give. That's called muscle failure. And I used to train all the way up to failure every time. Now I've realized that going a little bit below failure still gets me a great muscle building effect, but a lot less fatigue rather than going all the way to failure where there's a ton of extra fatigue. I'm sore the next day. Now, you get a little bit less muscle building, but a lot less fatigue by going 1 or 2 reps underneath failure. And I say muscle failure, where that's not actually, you're not failing, you've gotten everything you can out of that muscle. So if you hit that point, that's okay, you've done a good job. Just know that you could probably go a little bit lighter or a little bit less intense and get a little more out of every workout, or a little more frequent workouts, because going a little less intense can actually reduce your overall fatigue while still maintaining a great muscle building effect. I used to go all the way to failure, and I would get injured more often where I'd have to take breaks and stop and let the muscle heal. So letting the arms really pull back towards the back, so my hands are behind my body. And that's gonna really tension that bicep all the way up through the shoulder. And relax. And we're going through these in a circuit, going exercise 1, 2, and 3. This is our 3rd exercise, the end of this set for this circuit. So a circuit just is repeated exercises in sequence, and a set is each exercise is its own set in that circuit. So this is our third exercise set. Doing a lateral raise with a crossed grip. So pulling out to the side, pulling with your hands, thumbs pointed straight towards the front. So that way you're getting right through that middle of the shoulder and into that deltoid. Now it's important to make sure that the bands are even. I have to adjust this so I feel like it was a little bit tighter on one side than the other. There we go. Because we wouldn't want it to be bigger on one side than the other. And I'm going until I feel tired in that deltoid, in that shoulder muscle. The deltoid is actually 3 pieces of muscle. That anterior deltoid or front deltoid, the rear deltoid, and the middle deltoid. This exercise hits mostly that middle deltoid, that large piece right down the middle of your shoulder. That goes right here, that helps broaden out your shoulders. So if you're liking these workouts and want to see more, I host these live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, doing all my workouts live on stream with you guys. So hope to see you there.